What are some good maintenance items you should do right when you buy a used Tacoma? Well, today I have this 2017 Tacoma TRD Sport 4-wheel drive short bed in my garage, and that's what I'll be showing all of you today. Alright, so this is a used Tacoma with 87,000 miles on it that we're going to take care of today, because 99% of the time when you buy a used vehicle, there are at least a few maintenance items that do need to be completed, especially because we want to get this truck to kind of a clean slate to start a build on it. I say we here because I've partnered with a really cool company called Flex Motors, and this is their truck, but we are together going to build it up into something pretty unique and, in my opinion, pretty cool too. And I'm going to be showcasing the build process on my channel for all of y'all's viewing pleasure. So stay tuned for a build series on this Tacoma, but today I really thought that with so many of you guys owning these trucks and planning on keeping them for the long haul, and also just a lot of general interest right now with people wanting to purchase a Generation 3 or 2016 to 2023 Tacoma used, that I'd share some of my own tips when it comes to looking at pre-owned Tacomas, and also share some good first DIY maintenance you can do, which is obviously all going to depend truck to truck and on the mileage and condition and everything, but you'll see what I'm doing here specifically with this TRD Sport, because soon Flex Motors and I are going to be making some big changes to it. But getting back to the focus of today's video, I basically just want to introduce you guys to this new to us TRD Sport Tacoma and show you guys some of the first maintenance and getting my hands dirty with it. Before I glove up and get ready for maintenance, I did want to spend some time doing a little walk around of this truck. I want you guys to let me know what you think of its condition, and also I want to give my 2 cents about some good things to look at if you're purchasing a used Tacoma. So when I looked at this truck, I myself could only notice 2 modifications to it, which likely attribute to why it's in great condition. Not that I'm one to say I'm against modifying your vehicle, because that would be very hypocritical of me considering the types of videos I make here on my channel. But I think a lot of people would argue that generally anyone buying a used truck, yes, while everyone's going to look for their own specific things, generally a vehicle in more of a stock form is going to be a better buy if you're looking at used. And with Tacoma, I've looked at a lot of used ones, and it can be hard to find one in its stock form because these trucks are arguably one of the most modified out there. But yeah, anyways, can you guys spot what the 2 modifications are? Okay, one of the first things is the tires, of course. These are BF Goodrich KO2s 265/70 R17s specifically, and they are the exact tire that I run on my own Tacoma. Fantastic tire, so I was really stoked to see these on the truck. Looks like the stock wheels though, so really the tires were the only thing that got changed there. But the second modification, have you found it yet? I think it's just this front window tint. This looks a little bit darker than how the stock Tacomas come, because if you look at the comparison to the rear window, it's pretty similar in terms of how dark it is. But really, that is it. I could not notice anything else except for maybe the fact that the, what are these called? The pillar, the vinyl that goes over the pillars was removed, but it's very, very clean, very, very slick. You can really see my reflection pretty well and the reflection of my garage in this truck. But you can always tell when a truck has been taken well care of versus just cleaned and detailed, and this one appears to be both, which I think is great. If we look on the inside, it's not scuffed up. A lot of times you'll see scuffing near the doors here, or a lot of scuffing near the panels. I know this is the passenger side, but the driver's side really is pretty mild / there isn't really anything. The seats are in pretty pristine condition as well. Yeah, honestly, just normal wear and tear. Honestly, like pretty pristine on the inside, but I'm sure you guys are curious. A lot of people, when they look at Toyota trucks, like to look underneath at the frame. You can see that there is no rust on this frame. It's in quite perfect condition, to be honest with you. This was an Arizona truck, so good candidate for buying used rather than buying one in, say, the Rust Belt. What you can also look at if you're buying a used Tacoma are some of these components, because, you know, a lot of people like to off-road their trucks, and I just know from my own experience off-roading my own truck, and I'll be fully honest with you guys, I know where these trucks get damaged. So these bars over here, I don't know if they're called like crossbars, but a lot of times they'll get scuffed up and banged up pretty easily. This truck has none of that. Any components that hang pretty low, like the exhaust over here, tends to get scratched and scuffed up from off-road, and you don't see that on this truck. Same with kind of the lower control arms. Anywhere that there can be a skid plate put on, I've actually got skids for my own lower control arms, but yeah, there are no scuffs. There was a small front skid plate, which I took off because I did an oil change that you guys will see in a little bit. But yeah, really no damage underneath here. Another thing you can look at is the bottom of the rear differential, since that also sits pretty low. I mean, my own I know just has scuffs on it. But yeah, this truck, pretty good. Also here on the sides, no pinstriping, or at least really any visible ones that I could tell. My fender flares, even though they're not painted and color matched like this TRD Sport is, with my tires and going off-roading in the sand, have a lot of debris that gets kicked up over here and has chipped through the panels, but you can see there's a very, very minimal chipping over here, which is good to see. And just in general, speaking of the body condition too, what I like to look at in the Tacomas is kind of these front components and how well the panels line up, especially this front fender flare, and how well, and see, it's just nice and flush with the front fender. There aren't any gaps from what I can see. I just know, like, once you take these off, they're really hard to put on. So a lot of times in these Tacomas specifically, it's pretty easy to tell when you have a truck that has either been in an accident or had front components replaced just by looking at that alone. I mean, it's black paint, but it all matches. So yeah, this doesn't look like a Frankenstein together truck to me. It really is a 2017 with this chrome grille. Oh, something else about the 2017s I really enjoy. I want to show you on the inside. Okay, my garage lighting is totally washing this out, so it's hard to see, but there is an actual integrated GoPro mount here on the front windshield. I really enjoy these. I know I can just add one to my own truck, but how cool was it that GoPro and Toyota had some sort of deal going on to where some of the earlier model Gen 3 Tacomas actually had this integrated front GoPro mount. So yeah, besides that, another thing to look at trucks obviously is the bed. This one, again, pretty pristine back here for a truck with almost 90,000 miles on it. Maybe the bed got used, but definitely not abused by any means whatsoever. So that is great to see in a used vehicle. So yeah, really fantastic truck, but let me jump back to earlier and show you guys some of the maintenance I did to get this truck more ready for our build. All right, first maintenance item we're going to tackle on the list is an oil change. And if you're no strangers to the channel, you'll know my oil of choice is Haviland. These have been fantastic in all of my, oop, that was a little sketchy. Definitely need to invest in a step stool at some point for my 5'5" self in my garage, because this is a common problem. But anyways, Chevron lubricants are known for their great protection against harmful engine deposits, amongst many other things. This is Pro RS 0W20 for the Tacoma. All of the Haviland Proteus I have up there are 5W30s for my Land Cruiser. But one other thing I really, really like about these Smart Change boxes is that you can see the quantity is 6 quarts. Normally you see oil sold in the 5-quart quantity. And what's nice is that if you've got a V6 Tacoma, so the 3.5 liter engine, that amount of oil is basically perfect for this engine. It's just a happy coincidence. So I just really like that added benefit with Haviland specifically for these 3rd gen Tacomas. And then also, if I can reach it, you guys see me use Motivix tools for my oil changes. This is their 3rd gen Tacoma kit. It comes handy time and time again. This thing seriously pays for itself if you do DIY oil changes, but it comes with several different things. The first being this American-made notchless oil filter wrench. You guys just saw me pull out the threaded funnel too. And then potentially the best thing in this kit, or my favorite thing, is this oil filter drain tool, which helps prevent lots of messes when you're changing your oil. Let's see, these look like 12s. Yep.
So obviously, the first step here is to remove the front skid plate, which is just 4 12mm bolts. And I thought it was just the Off-Road and the Pro that had a front skid plate, but I guess the Sport does too.
So these really come stock on the TRD Sports. I don't know, maybe he added this after the fact. This is a 14.
And here, I'm removing the drain plug.
I'm always a fan of these drain pans, and I'll show you when I pull it out when the oil is done draining. You can kind of seal up, but obviously you can just drain directly into.
And when that drain plug comes off, make sure the gasket is there with it since you'll want to replace it. Then get your oil filter kit, and I will always recommend OEM for oil filters.
So this is the thing that one of the Motivix tools will replace. Absolutely hate these things. Just pulled these out of the drawer. I forgot these YZZA1 kits don't come with it, but something that you should pick up too is a pack of these drain plug gaskets. Put a fresh one on the drain plug. Torque this guy to 30 foot-pounds. And now you can see here is the oil filter, which we are going to remove next. So you'll need this 3/8 inch stripe. Take out this first piece. Then this is where the Motivix tool really comes into handy. So you just first thread this on, but it basically just drains all of the excess fluid, which is so cool. But yeah, check it out. It's pretty cool because it's pretty mess free. You can kind of see it's finishing. It's draining. I'll put out a little bit. I really should cut this tube. Once that's done, you can unthread it. We'll just drop it directly in the drain pan because we don't need that anymore. Then we take our oil filter wrench, which accepts 3/8 inch. Slide that right onto the oil filter housing. Okay, whoever tightened this last, it's pretty freaking tight. All right, I'm gonna do my tire trick. I put my feet on the tire. Struggling. Oh, Jesus. All right, I broke it loose. Definitely should not be this tight. Still need the breaker bar for a little bit. Now I can switch over to the ratchet. Maybe not, still a little bit tight for me, but there we go.
Then we put our new oil filter in, and don't forget to also replace those O-rings, which come in the YZZA1 kits.
Again, this one usually comes out pretty easily. So oil the new ones. So this is what I was talking about with this drain pan earlier. I just picked this up from Walmart. It's a 16-quart one, but you essentially drain directly into here. And there's a little cap that you can close up when you're all done. And I just, throw everything on here. Definitely have to clean this up. But yeah, pretty simple. Okay, oil filter and housing back in. Then the torque spec on this guy is 18 foot-pounds, so definitely not as tight as it was before. And then the torque spec on the little metal guy, this guy, is 10 foot-pounds. What a lot of people like to do though is remember 30, 20, 10. So in that order too, 30 is the drain plug if you remember. 18, 20 is the oil filter housing, and then 10 is this little metal guy.
And the last part of the Motivix kit is the threaded funnel and extension that threads right onto the oil fill port.
Alright, it's always somewhat of a game for me to see if I can pour this into the funnel without spilling anything in the engine bay. I'm like 50-50. You gotta be like fast, but also controlled. And you have to aim right. Alright, let's see. There we go. And because this oil is in a bladder inside the Smart Change box, you won't hear that glug, glug, glug that you normally hear when you're pouring from a jug. So pretty easy, mess-free. Pull that funnel out. And the last thing to do, of course, is check the oil level. But what you want to do is actually not check it with the dipstick right now. You obviously want to get the engine up to temp and then check the oil. So I typically just do that after I finish all my maintenance. All right, so next up, spark plugs. So this truck has 88,000 miles on it. I have no idea if the spark plugs have ever been changed, but if they haven't, they definitely do need to be changed. We'll get in there, look at the condition of them, but it was on the maintenance list, so we'll just get it done today. In my experience, this is a pretty DIY friendly thing to do, although I do have some tips if you've never done it before. Okay, so first up, sourcing spark. Oh my gosh, I'm dropping literally everything today. What I was gonna say, first up, sourcing spark plugs. Now this, what I have right here are the spark plugs. They're these Denso FK20 HBR8s. And this is the part number. This is an OEM part number. I really recommend going OEM on stuff like this. So these are it. And I just picked these up from the dealership. But what I wanted to say is, pro tip, you can save some money if you plan in foresight. I didn't. And so that's why I went straight to my dealership and get the exact same spark plugs. So if we unbox these are actually the exact same. You can see these are the FK20 HBR8s. Yeah, you can save a little bit of money and get them on Amazon Prime. But what I also wanted to do, and sorry, I just thought of this, but I wanted to plug Sparks Parts. Bad joke. But anyways, if you've watched my channel for a while, you'll know that Sparks Parts is an online Toyota parts dealer I really, really like and source most of my parts from that are genuine Toyota parts. And I've worked with them for a long time, and I actually have been fortunate enough to get you guys a discount code. So those are a great deal too if you plan in foresight. If you're not gonna shop in person at a dealership, you have to be really careful where you're gonna source your OEM parts. So I recommend Sparks Parts over anything. And again, there's that discount code. The last thing I'm going to highly recommend is one of these. It's actually just this. This is a spark plug socket, and in my case, it's just a 5/8 inch socket. But what's special about it is it's got a magnet on the inside, which is extremely helpful when you're pulling those spark plugs out. And then what I have over here is this U-joint, which as you'll see will be extremely helpful just because sometimes it can be hard to reach various places in the engine bay. So yeah, this is like a 3/8 inch drive U-joint. I have another maintenance video here on my YouTube channel where I did a full spark plug change on my 2019 TRD off-road. And for all intents and purposes, I think if you have one of these Gen 3 V6 Tacomas, it's going to be pretty much the same process as that. So I would definitely turn to that video, which I'll have linked down below if you're looking for more of an in-depth tutorial rather than this video specifically. You know, I kind of show you guys the tips and tricks, which spark plugs are the easiest to get to, how to reach the hard to reach places and all that jazz. But I will tell you that the passenger side is far, far easier than the driver's side just because you don't have to move as many things around. So I'm gonna start out easy today on this side.
The premise of changing spark plugs is pretty simple. You can see I just move stuff that's in the way, and then when the coil packs are exposed, I unbolt those, which I think are just 10mm bolts, and then I remove the spark plug itself with the socket I showed you. Now, as I mentioned before, if you start on the passenger side and follow the order I mentioned in my instructions video, linked down below, each spark plug will get progressively more difficult to remove due to just the things being in the way and space in the engine bay. But it's a matter of just being patient and budgeting the time to do it. Here's one old versus new spark plug, and then this next step is controversial, perhaps the most controversial piece of content I've ever made, but putting anti-seize on the threads. Just a dab. I'm a proponent because that's how I was taught, but since it does alter the torque spec, many people are against this. So you do what you think, and regardless, use a sparing amount if you do. Spark plug goes back in, and I always like to start them by hand to avoid cross-threading. And then you want to torque that puppy down to 14 foot-pounds, and the coils should be torqued to 7 foot-pounds. And I'll spare you from every little detail of what to do here because, again, check out my instructional video if you need to actually follow along, but it really just is moving things that are in the way. Here on the driver's side, you can really see more stuff is in the way, and I actually had to remove 2 of these bars that bolt into the intake and engine, but even so, I think this service is very DIY-able if you have the time and interest.
So one of the maintenance items recommended for this truck was a full fuel injector cleaning, and while what I'm about to show you isn't going to be a replacement by any means to that service, it can certainly help out. So this is Techron High Mileage Fuel System Cleaner. It is very easy to use, very DIY friendly, pretty readily available if you have a local AutoZone or O'Reilly's. I mentioned earlier that Chevron lubricants are fantastic for cleaning out harmful engine deposits, and this stuff is great for the fuel system, so we're gonna use it in this truck. And if you've watched the channel before, you do know how easy this stuff is to use. Oh. Force a habit over there. In my other truck, I have a little gas cap holder, but I know you can also use this thing. I'm just used to my other little Tough Skins gas cap holder. This 12-ounce bottle, they say, treats up to 21 gallons, which is honestly really perfect for the Tacoma, which basically has that exact size fuel tank. So the gas tank is nearly empty, and I'm just pouring this whole bottle in. So simple, that's literally all you have to do. You know, it's hard to see the benefits in these Tacomas because they are so new, even though, yeah, 87,000 miles, a lot of people wouldn't consider low mileage. In fact, it's high mileage, right? So my Land Cruiser, my 1992, has over 200,000 miles on it now. And when I first bought it, it had suffered really badly from just poor acceleration, poor fuel economy, and it was bone stock. And even though it was really old, I knew it could benefit from a fuel injector cleaning. So tried out a bottle of Techron, high mileage, of course. And just after one treatment, I really experienced the benefits while driving. Again, getting some of that lost acceleration, even though Land Cruiser doesn't have a lot of acceleration to start out with, at least for a 92, but it felt very much improved. Fuel economy started to go up, and I know that vehicle just had like a lot of carbon buildup in general because I was also having issues with the EGR system. So yeah, I really like Techron High Mileage and saw the benefits on my Land Cruiser, and these Tacomas are more of preventative maintenance. If anything, you saw how easy and fast it was to use.
And if your Tacoma has less than 75,000 miles on it, you could just use the Techron Complete Fuel System Cleaner like I did until I crossed that mileage. But again, I want to emphasize that this is not a replacement for a fuel injector cleaning, but just a precautionary solution to prolong the life of your vehicle. My mission on this channel is just to share my own experience as an everyday vehicle owner, especially when it comes to a Tacoma, because most of you guys who watch the channel are just like me. You've got one of these things, and it's fun DIYing and navigating the best ways to take care of it. And I really hope you guys will like what we have in store for this specific black TRD sport build. Again, stay tuned for the upcoming first build episode because I, for one, am very, very hyped about our plans here. But anyways, that is it. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know if you guys like these videos and if you want to see even more content, especially stuff in real time. Definitely follow my Instagram. It is at ChloeKuo Taco. Otherwise, be sure to subscribe for more, and I hope I will see you in the next video. Bye, guys.